Hello and welcome. I'm the Restless Kaiser.
I'm Bitman the Darkbite, aka Paulie B, his brother.
I'm Johnny B, and
I'm Jason Frad.
But together we are
Modelling for Advantage. All right then, guys, let's catch up with the chat. We have got Carl Chaos here. Rosie is in the chat watching her family. Nick from Team Clueless Games, still Rosie. Glenn Dewar says, good evening, everyone. Rosie says, Doofer. Duncan FX is here. Ham and Jam is here. Lazy Pirate Painting. A wizard is never late, Rosie. That is a fact. Friends of General Haig is here. And a mini Walmart. Oh, they keep coming in. No, that's just people chatting. Right, I keep forgetting to say, but we have a Discord channel. And there it is. I'm trying to put a link in to paste there. So feel free to join. There's not loads of people on there yet, so there's not a huge amount going on. So tonight we have got Jason from Battle Nights and Painting Nights, and he's going to talk in a little minute. But before we get going, what are people hobbying tonight? I am doing some 135th 54mm World War II Africa Corps. Paul?
I am currently painting Trug the Trogoth King. Here he is. Currently hyper detailing his flesh with lots of texture.
Oh.
hyper detailing. Ooh,
What are you doing, John?
I'm working through the initial characters from what's it called? Another glorious day in the. You can't see it. Just imagine it. Another glorious day in the core. What it was called, the Aliens game.
From Gale Force 9?
Yeah, GF9. Beautiful stuff. Jason, you got any hobby on the desk? Or are you going to be talking?
I've got Athena, the goddess from the Greek mythology. She's from the Mythic Battles Pantheon set.
Very nice.
One of my favorite board games.
Now, this is the time where we'd get you to announce who the hell you are, Jason. So, if you want to tell the people where they can find you. I know you're not. I know you're not particularly active on the YouTube front at the moment, but you have got quite a back catalogue. So, if you could tell the viewers where they can find that.
Yeah, as I said, I'm Jason Frad. I've got a channel called Battle Nights. It's just a hobby channel where I put up a lot of the battle reports, where I play with some games with the guys, put up some videos of what I've been working on, stuff like that. I have a commission painting service, which I run with my partner Carla. That's on Facebook as Painting Nights, trying to keep the name similar so it's not too hard to remember. Yeah, and I work in the gaming industry as well, in the board gaming industry, and I have another YouTube channel which is called Gaming Nights, but I put that on the back burner for now as I've had to cut back on some of the stuff I'm doing. But yeah, that's pretty much where you can find me.
Oui.
So there you go. And Jason, I believe, like so many people, you are a former hobby shop owner, and it didn't quite work out.
Yeah, that's right. I had my own game shop for 5 years, and it was called Future War Games. That's where I met these two guys below us. Yeah, I met them through that hobby shop.
You met me before that.
That's true. I met them through the Games Workshop, which closed down, and then I jumped in the grave spot that had left behind. Yeah, and it was a great experience running a game shop. I was way out of my depth. I had no idea what the hell I was doing. I mean, by trade, I'm a qualified chef, and I came to England as a chef, worked in the chefing industry, had a lot of unusual time off, and had no idea about the hobby, none whatsoever. Where I grew up, the only hobby was to work or play some rugby, and I found out I was a big fan of Lord of the Rings, read the book, watched the movies. I found a white dwarf with Frodo on the front. And I remember seeing in the back, I read that issue of White Dwarf, I read from cover to cover, probably about a dozen times. And then I saw there was in the back they had like a catalog of all the different shops that stock Games Workshop products. There was one nearby. I went in there, had a demo of the game, absolutely freaking loved it. Warhammer Fantasy. I didn't have a freaking clue what was going on, but freaking loved it. And ever since then, I was hooked on the game, hooked on the hobby, and it's ruined me.
and most of us are hobby butterflies, right? We flip from one project to the next, but I think you might be one of the worst people I've met for that, right?
Oh my god, so bad. I am like a magpie. As soon as something comes across my face, I'm like, ooh, that's great, and I'll do it. I'll paint about half an army and then move on to the next thing a week later. I don't think I've ever completed any project in my life.
I remember about a year ago, you went back to some like Imperials that you'd had, like fantasy Imperials, for about 10 years ago you'd started.
Yeah. And I've sold that, and I'll probably start a new one soon again.
When it all comes out again.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Interestingly, by the way, on that topic, because I know a few people might be interested, particularly you guys, I saw Valrak saying that it looks like most of the stuff that's coming out for Fantasy when they re-release it, and it's probably this year, it looks like it's going to be the old models with a couple of new heroes.
Yes, I have some info on that.
Go on, Paul. Say more.
So essentially, the Warhammer Fantasy relaunch is going to be in two starter boxes. One will feature Tomb Kings with a single new model in it, and the rest will be the old stuff. And the Bretonians will be the same thing. It'll be mostly the old plastic kits, and then a new guy, or a couple of new guys. And I think you'll get the rule book in there as well. You'll be able to use all your old armies as is. So if you have a
no rebasing.
Yeah. There's a sort of there's a little bit of weirdness there. So they are enlarging the bases. I do believe they're releasing a product that you can plop your 25mm square bases into, which just enlarges them a little bit. But most of us have knocked those square bases off anyway and put them on rounds. So it's entirely up to you. And I think the fantasy wargaming community aren't that bothered about that. But it will matter if you're playing in matched games, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's looking pretty good actually. It's going to be pretty exciting. For new people, not for us, because it's old hat to us. So, who cares?
Yeah, man.
I like the idea that they're going to sell you like a shoe that you put over the base.
Yeah.
Because most of those models were all on sideways, weren't they? So and still didn't really rank up.
But Kaiser, funnily enough, if you put a 25mm round base like Goblin in one of those MDF movement trays, it gives you about a 25 to 30mm square footprint anyway. So anyone who's done that, you're winning, basically.
It's all sorted.
Yeah, all my stuff is on rounds now as well.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So being a little bit cynical about it, I'm guessing that what they're doing is the kind of models that they had given you in Finecast, they're now making plastic ones for. And that's basically what's going to be the new release. Not identical, but that kind of role.
Yeah, character models really to show off the new sort of sculpting techniques. They probably will re-release Finecast stuff that they've got, simply because it just means they get stuff out quicker, right?
I personally think one of the reasons they've gone to a bigger size base is, and it makes sense to me why they would do that, is that they want to exclude people using the Age of Sigmar figures in Warhammer. And the Age of Sigmar stuff won't rank up on 25mm bases. No. But they will on the bigger bases, which makes sense to me. Why would you not want people to have the maximum amount of opportunity to use all your figures in all your games?
I think it's very different, though. This is the old world. This is completely separate.
But there are some stuff that could cross over. You know, like elves are elves. Just because they don't look the same, they can still cross over.
Oh, you mean the moo cow elves?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something really, really important to just keep in mind, everybody, is that if you watch any of like Painting Phase, Rogue Hobbies, or any of those channels that are talking to ex-Games Workshop members of staff that have recently left or left a few years ago and stuff, it's very apparent now that nobody in that company knows what anyone else is doing.
Right.
Oh, right.
They just work in silos. Yeah.
They did have no idea. So there's no master plan where someone's going, yes, well, if we get them to change the base sizes, that'll be more money for our investors. No, it's just someone just goes, that's a good idea, let's do that. That's
Right.
it. It's simply that.
And this is
Honestly.
one of Britain's highest grossing companies. That's really reassuring to
That's-
hear, isn't it?
That's more
Right.
scary than them doing it diabolically.
Yeah. All right. So returning to the chat, Rich John joined. Bitman the Dark Bite, Rich M, Axe and Axe, and as always, catch you in the rerun. Indeed. Might have to take a trip up to the loft. Well, yeah, it sounds very much like it. Right, so the plan for today is Jason, for those of you that don't know, does a lot of commission painting. It's not just your full-time job, it's also your wife's full-time job, right?
Yeah.
This is, you sit at the table 8 hours a day painting figures for other people.
Yep,
And
pretty much.
And it puts meat and bread on the table. So
Just bread, no meat.
there's no meat. There's no meat.
Can't afford it.
And you occasionally pop up at shows and stuff, working with Modifius and other companies.
Not Modifius. I work for board game companies like Lucky Duck Games, couple of other board game companies, and I paint a lot for other companies. But I haven't worked for Modifius.
Oh, I've misunderstood that.
Well, you're also from who's called Justin, so I mean, perhaps Justin works at Modifius.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
I did pitch a board game that I designed to Modifius.
And they
Okay,
went,
some-
you're having a laugh.
No, they did like it, but they didn't. It was set in the Fallout universe, and they have a very restrictive license what they can do for the Fallout license, so they couldn't use half the stuff that I designed. So unfortunately, they couldn't take it.
I know that.
Right.
Okay, the game My Pet Ghoul, where you have to like
Oh,
raise a radioactive.
But I now want to play that.
Yeah, again, design again. Right, it looks like I can't actually share the tab for some reason, so I'm going to have to share my own screen, so it's going to look a bit weird for a few seconds. But can you now all see the pictures?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
All right, so Jason, if you want to start talking to us, what is this magnificent animal here?
Okay, so a lot of the commissions that we work for are mostly for companies. It's for some reason I've found a niche where a lot of companies like TT Combat, Bad Squiddo Games, War Games Atlantic, Mantic Games, a lot of those companies use us to paint a lot of their figures for either box art or demo figures or display figures, those type of things. And I do a lot of work for TT Combat. This is one of their figures. They do a fantasy range which they've pushed onto their sister company Max Mini, and a lot of their stuff is, shall we call it, fantasy, Warhammer Fantasy adjacent.
Yeah.
So they do a lot of stuff that you could use in Warhammer Fantasy, but it's a lot more whimsical, maybe a lot more themed differently. And this is from their Desert Elf range, which is basically, if you want to compare it to Warhammer, it's Dark Elves, but they do a very
it's very different.
Yeah, very Egyptian themed. The majority of the army is female based, and this is basically the avatar of Cain.
Oh right, yeah, very
so
different
that-
interpretation.
Yeah, and this was a really cool model to paint, actually. Really cool, because the skin is obviously all lava, sort of cracked and everything like that, and she's really big as well. I mean, she is probably a giant size figure, like a Warhammer giant size figure.
Like kind of 10 inches or so.
Yeah. So she was really impressive, really nice. And the range itself, this Desert Elf range, I really liked it a lot. I mean, they had some really nice figures. So, for example, the Executioner equivalent were basically these ladies with big Driax, the Dark Elf sword, but they had Anubis masks on and stuff like that.
Oh,
It was
cool.
really cool. Really
Right.
nice.
Mummy style. So for people that haven't had TT Combat miniatures before, am I right in thinking they have industrial 3D printers?
Yeah.
How they do their stuff.
And they all come resin printed, yeah.
Right, they're all resin printed.
Yeah,
Okay.
they're nicely detailed and mostly one piece models. I will say, I tend to find that you need to give them a wash before you put them paint on them, because they sometimes have that residue left over.
Oh, right, okay. And how much cleanup is there to do?
Not a lot. Like I said, most of it's one piece. Sometimes you get a little flash on the base where they have the strip that's attached to the model's feet. There's
Right.
sometimes a little flash there. Sometimes a little flash on the weapons. But predominantly they're decent figures. They're nowhere near the same quality as Games Workshop. Let's put it straight. But you're not paying the same price as well. I don't know how much this lady's cost, but I would say she's probably about 20 quid.
But she's not £80, which if she
Yeah,
was
exactly.
Games Workshop, yeah, cool.
Exactly.
All right, cool. I love these. Tell me about these.
Right, wow. So these are basically their Lizardmen equivalents. I'm actually doing a lot of figures for them now. I've got like behind me, I've got the Crocodores and chameleon skinks and salamanders and types of things. These are the basic Lizardmen warriors. I remember when they sent these over to me, they said that they think they want to do them all basically blue, and I was like, no, they got to be painted like smart. Got to be painted like Smarties. I mean, look at them.
They're beautiful. They're beautiful. And what are they, kind of halfling size, dwarf size, but fatter?
Yeah. They're very little squidgy miniatures, and they're so cute. Once you put the eyes on, man, it brings them to life. Everyone I've showed these to loves them.
Yeah.
I think they'll be quite popular once they finish bringing the range out, because there's some really funny looking models for this range, and there's some even weirder ones coming up in the future, like a Mushroom Men army. I don't even know what the equivalent for that is.
What, like The Last of Us?
No, more like the Smurfs.
Like proper.
Right. Okay. Cool.
Just a bunch of fun guys.
Yeah.
And these are really characterful. I like that. I like that a lot.
They're really cool. They're really popular as well. Every time I show them off, they get a lot of fun, interesting comments.
Whimsical fantasy stuff's really popular at the moment, Jason. Have you seen the cloth goblins? They're doing the rounds at the moment.
But I know Moonstone is making a big splash.
Yeah, Moonstone.
As well.
There's a little Scottish company making these like patchwork goblin models and this sort of stuff. It's all really, really popular at the moment. Whimsy.
Yeah, I can see that. I could
People
definitely
like
see
whimsy.
that.
And it's nice to get those bright colours, isn't it? You don't use them very often.
I will say it took me twice as long to paint these.
Oh.
It was my idea as well. Like I thought, oh yeah, it's definitely going to be painted colourful, and then obviously,
Sorry about this,
you go
guys.
through all the different colours.
Instantly regretted it.
Right. So what are we looking at here?
This is also from TT Combat. This is their halfling range, but they basically imagine Bretonnian army in halfling size. So these are the Grail Knights, and they've got instead of Pegasus Knights, they got Knights on Pegasus, which is pigs with wings.
Pegasus, nice.
Yeah. They got the damsel for this range is the cutest model I've ever seen in my life.
And are these are on ponies?
Yep,
They're not dogs,
ponies.
and they've got chalices on their heads.
Yep. There's 3 different types as well. These are the Grail ones, and then you got the sort of Knights of the Realm, which have got like rubber duckies and deers and stuff like that on their heads. It's really funny. They got the Pilgrim. Instead of carrying a dead knight, they've got a big feast, like a big roast boar and carrots and parsnips and all stuff around it.
Oh yeah, these are the ones. So these are the bunny. Can you guys see this? So there's a bunny, a duck, a frog, and a little puppy.
Oh god!
On their heads. Nice. And they're quite detailed. This is a halfling.
Yeah, that's halfling.
So that's like a 4 mil duck.
And they've got quite an extensive halfling range as well. The owner Louis, he's a massive fan of halflings, so he'll make anything into halflings.
And that's a hedgehog on his head?
Yep. Yeah, I think it is. Yeah. And
nice.
The banner, we thought it would be nice and whimsical to make a little forestry sort of river stream, because that seems to be where halflings live.
Magic. All right.
It's really cool. It's really cool about the range that they do. They do a fantasy range with all these figures, but they do a scenery range in that MDF wood sort of scenery, and they do like a whole halfling village with a halfling castle and everything.
Nice.
Crazy.
All right. So this is presumably Rumble Slam, right?
Yeah.
More halflings.
Yep. This is my third Rumble Slam team that I've painted up. This is for myself. I originally I painted up the starter set, and as a kid from the 80s and 90s, I used to watch WWE those days. So I painted up my teams like teams from those days, like the Hart Foundation. One of my favorite wrestlers was the British Bulldog, Davey Boy Smith. So I painted up my Orcs in the British Bulldog colors. And these are the Lords of the Ring.
Oh, nice. The Lords of the Ring. I've not played Rumble Slam. Has anybody? Have you actually played it?
Yeah, I played it with Johnny B.
Yeah, is it all right? What do you think?
Yeah, it's fun. It's not like a game I would heavily invest in because it's like a board game effectively. You're just playing in like a one-off little sort of head-to-head beat 'em up sort of style game. But it's fun, and some of the wrestlers, as you get more obscure wrestlers in there, they become even crazier. The rules become crazier, and there's things you can do. You can bounce off the rope and headbutt people, and rile up the crowd, things like that. So it's fun. It's good laugh.
Right, nice.
Where is Johnny?
I don't know. Where is John? Has he gone? I can't see the thing screen because I'm sharing my screen. I think have we seen these before?
This is from the original set. This is my Hart Foundation. Bret Hart and the Antelope and those guys.
Very nice.
These are really cool. I painted up one figure for Rumble Slam. A friend of mine, in fact, the guy that runs the record company I'm with, collects miniatures and stuff. And last time he was touring the UK, he gave me a blister pack, and it had like a Davy Jones from Pirates of the Caribbean. It's like a pirate guy with a technical face. I painted him up for him. It was a really cool model, actually. Lovely.
Yeah, the Rumble Slam stuff is really good. Rumble Slam, I think that and Carnival is probably their two flagship games.
Yeah.
And they bring a lot of stuff out for them.
Oh, that's very cool. Look at those guys.
I love this is the one based on your you said British Bulldogs.
Yeah. So I painted obviously I kept the skin green instead of because they're orcs and goblins. But I gave them the British flags, and I can imagine them doing with the British accent, like every orc in every Warhammer universe.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Right down to the lace-up boots. Nice. So what we got here?
This is different. Dortrek and Felix.
Of course it is.
I found them in my loft, and the old school figures. I think this is from Paul's era. This is from your era, ain't it, Paul?
I mean, I was old when these came out, but I was selling those to people. They go for a few quid now. Those do, Jason.
Yeah, I actually sold these online after I painted them because I needed some space. And they went for a decent price.
You needed this much space, did you?
Well, no, I they were just part of. I needed a whole shaft clearing in my cabinet.
I needed 40mm cube of space just to put a small ham sandwich in. Yeah.
So you haven't got these then, Paul? You've sold them?
No, I don't have those anymore. I do have a dwarf army though, so I could actually do with a set of those at some point.
Right, yeah, and they're in the Warhammer Total War game. I remember that was one of the free DLCs at one point.
They're really cool.
But they're one of the most popular book series as well.
Oh, they're brilliant. Yeah, William King. He's a great writer. He's really, really good.
So this looks like a Robin Hood gig.
Oh.
Yeah, these are Bertrand's boys, from the old Games Workshop range as well.
Yeah, Bretonian special characters, really beautiful set. And then there was a jester called Jules the Jongly Bits or something. What was his name?
Yeah.
I used to call him Jules the Jongly Bits. He was like a jester riding a hobby horse.
I actually, on the Friar Tuck model, I actually lost the beer barrel that came with it. And I just went through my boot box and found another beer barrel to fit on his back. That worked.
Yeah, that's the plastic barrel from the Warhammer Giant, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, yeah. It's even got the indent where it goes onto his belt.
Yeah,
like
the ale guzzler.
Yeah, which has made it fit really well on Friar's back.
Yeah, it's really good.
So have you dug these out because Bretonians are coming back then? Is that the motive?
No, I just felt like painting them. I've got to be honest. I was going through my stuff, trying to shift out some stuff. We're talking about the loft. I think my loft is going to join me down in the bottom floor soon with so much crap up there.
Yep, you mean it's all going to just fall through?
Yeah, because I got a lot of crazy shit. So I decided to go through something. And when you see something and you go, oh man, these are great, I got to paint these. I don't even know what I'm going to use them for, but I got to paint them. So I painted them up. I did them in a couple of hours, and I stuck them on the shelf. And then I noticed that TT Combat actually do halfling versions of these exact models.
Right, and you've got a lot of halflings.
Yeah, I was like, I got to find those.
Oh, the Green Knight.
The Green Knight. So they've made several versions of this, haven't they?
No.
Is this the only one they've ever made?
Yeah, we'll get a new one. This is Kaiser. This is a good example of one of the kits they will remake in plastic, right, for the new old world, because it's a classic kit that everybody remembers and loves, and it still stands up now. But imagine how cool that would look in
Scaled
amazing,
up.
yeah, like 3D sculpted and made in plastic. It would just be insane.
Yeah, I think so as well. I mean, even those days when this figure came out, it was a great figure and people loved this figure just to paint. But I can imagine with the technology they have now, what they could do with this character would be amazing.
But yeah, I mean, all you have to do is look at like the Light of Alfarian from the Lumineth Realm Lord character, the armor guy that's just armor, and it's just all sort of. I can imagine that kind of thing with this. There's nobody in that suit of armor. It's just a suit of green armor with a spirit in it. You know, be amazing.
Real fearsome looking horse as well. I think it'll be amazing. And so, I think if the old world does well, maybe we'll see stuff like that.
Oh, Pickle's here. Hello, David.
So this kind of stuff makes me a little bit sad in Warhammer, because the Green Knight is a real fictional character. Did you know that?
Yes.
Yeah.
And do you know anything about him?
He was green and he was a knight.
Wasn't he part of King Arthur's, right? Like, what was he?
It's older than the Arthurian legends. It's older than that. Like Merlin is older than that, and Sir Tristram is older than that, and it all kind of gets meshed together in Geoffrey of Monmouth. Gawain and the Green Knight is one of the oldest things, like Beowulf. It's one of the oldest things written in English that we still have, and it isn't written in anything like you would recognise as English. It's fundamentally a different, like Latin and Italian kind of thing.
I think I've read it actually. I gave it a 2 out of 10. It was pretty boring.
Well, the story of the Green Knight is, I think it's Gawain, but I'm not sure. Someone meets him, and basically there's a challenge, and this knight, he takes a swing at the Green Knight and chops his head off. But the deal was that they were going to take one swing each. The Green Knight then picks up his head and says, right, tomorrow I'm going to have my go. And it's a story about sort of virtue and so forth. And it's very much ties into that mythology of chivalry. It's a kind of really important story for the development of English literature. Amazing. So to find it in an army of bloody Frenchmen by Games Workshop upsets me immensely, because it's one of the most English things there is. Anyway, that's the Green Knight for you. Have we lost John then?
His phone overheated.
Yeah.
All right. When he's just turned it on. Let me just stop sharing my screen for a moment, just so I can catch up with the chat. Oh, so John's in chat, is he?
Yeah, he's in
Let
chat.
me go and catch up.
He's got more money than me. He can afford a decent camera.
Yeah. So what? Lazy Parrot painting. I know we can go back to playing Warhammer Fantasy and such a poor rule set. I don't know that I agree with that. I think it was okay.
Yeah, I got some interesting thoughts on that.
Go on, Bob. Spit it out.
Well, I think so. I've played every version of Warhammer from 2nd edition all the way through to 8th edition, and my personal favourites are 3rd and 5th.
That's the big orange hardback.
Yeah, 3rd and 5th edition. It essentially hasn't changed much over all of the years that it's been going, but the last edition was so heavily geared towards mass inventory blocks and lost a lot of character of crazy magic things and characters doing crazy stuff, that the game became very, very expensive to get into and not very much fun to play. So if your comment about Warhammer Fantasy really depends on what era that comment is coming from. You know what I mean? Like, because you can talk to someone over the 40-year span and you'll get a different opinion. I just, it has been broken, that game, and fixed and broken again, and we don't know what we're getting next. It might be who knows.
But a lot of it also depends on what you want out of a game. I mean, I've played so many different games over the years, and even when I had my shop, trying to teach people games and trying to get them into the hobby. And because I wasn't a games workshop, I was a general store. I taught all the games you can think of. Anything that I could sell, I would teach.
Right.
And what I learned from that was that so many people want so many different things out of the hobby. I mean, some people wanted just like I had so many times that people come in and go, "Could we play the games without the figures?" That's what they just wanted to do. They just wanted to play. They didn't care about the hobby or the building the figures, those type of things. Some people didn't really care about playing that much. They just wanted to build and paint armies, and then some people really enjoyed the list building and the aspects of tournament play and how they can manipulate the rules to suit their army. Some people just wanted to make themed armies and just build what's cool and look what this cool model does, and then. So
we're not doing well for connections tonight.
So I think a lot of it, it'll be an individual thing. At any time you talk to someone in the hobby, they'll like or dislike something that you might like or dislike because of so many variants in the hobby itself.
Yeah,
I agree 100%. There's so many ways you can access the hobby, and all of them are right. There's no wrong way of doing it. And it's important that we support. I think the community supports itself in that thing. Like, play whatever game you want, paint, don't paint, tournament, don't tournament, narrative game, competitive, whatever. I've just seen Lazy Pyro Painting mentions Kings of War Kaiser.
Yeah, we're going to get to them in a minute.
Yeah, I mean I mean, Kings of War's great, isn't it?
I like Kings of War. Yeah, I like the pace of the game. I love the idea of dynamically basing your miniatures. It's the footprint. The problem I always have with it's more of a problem with historical and fantasy games is the whole units fighting to the death thing. It's just ridiculous. You look at historical battles which are considered a massacre, is maybe 15% of the army is lost. But nobody wants to play a game where you fight for 2 rounds and you don't lose any figures, but somebody does lose. That's not the kind of so people feel they want to track the damage or whatever. So what happens is when you turn and run, that's when people die in large numbers.
Yeah.
It's being stabbed in the back is when you die.
Kings of War is a good example of how people like different things at different things. Because, like, for example, I'm actually working on a Kings of War army at the moment. And I'm doing an Armada army and Vanguard, so I'm
You're going all in.
Yeah,
this
but
week.
I don't think Kings of War is the greatest game ever, because I mean, any game where you can play and the other person doesn't have to be in the room with you at the time while you're taking your turn is not a perfect game. But because everything is done on your turn, and they've designed it that way specifically so that no one can interfere or slow down play in tournament style. You do all the armor rolls, you do all the tech rolls, you do all the leadership rolls.
You have to beat their armor; they don't make a save.
Exactly,
is how it works, isn't it? Yeah.
So when you're taking your turn, the other person doesn't even have to be in the room to do anything, because you do everything for them. And I'm not a massive fan of that, but I still enjoy the game, and I love, like you were saying, the way you could theme your armies out, on the bases and stuff like that. There's so many cool things about it, but there's also so many negative things, in my opinion. And that's why I say it's really dependent on who you speak to.
Yeah, it depends. But if, like Paul was talking about, like those big regiments, it works really well in that you can have a really big regiment, but you actually need about half the figures.
Yeah,
that's really
to
cool,
do
that.
I've
played Kings of War.
And you don't roll dice per model. You roll dice a bit like what's that blue book that you play, the fantasy one? A regiment has N dice.
Is it Dragon Rampant?
Dragon Rampant, yeah. Units have a set number of dice when they attack, and that's that. The unit does take damage and then makes break tests based upon that damage, but you don't remove casualties.
You said something, Kaiser, a minute ago about in reality when people turn and run, that's when they get massacred.
Yeah.
And that was a huge thing, a huge rule in Warhammer second edition and third edition. And it kind of got rid of it in fourth edition.
Routing. Yeah.
Well, it's called hacks in the back. So if you failed your leadership test and ran, the enemy got basically a free round of combat where you couldn't attack back or anything. It would just basically chop you apart, but it didn't wipe out the entire unit. It would kill X amount of people. In later editions, they were like, you roll 2 dice. If the other person rolls 2 dice and beats your score, you take that unit off the table, which is like mad. I thought that was mad.
So it's older systems, and this comes from WRG before Warhammer in the historical 28mm scene, the WRG rules. The problem with having those kind of morale rules and those kind of tables is units bouncing backwards and forwards. There's not enough granularity. There's not like a bit unsteady, starting to waver, and then run. You've got run, pell-mell, or fine. And so you end up with these units that charge into combat and then flee, and then recover, and then charge into combat and then flee. Especially in Warhammer, where the unit would have a leadership of 11 if it had a hero. It may rout from combat, but it will almost immediately rally. So that kind of tennis ball of units routing is also bonkers.
Yeah, I can see that.
And the mechanism of how we say, well, if you're running, you're probably going to keep running. So not in this system, and we don't really know what to. We'd have to change our our leadership. How do we make that work within the same set of mechanics? And so just taking it off was one way of dealing with that and keeps it clean. I guess.
Ironically, that was the thing in Warhammer Fantasy. Especially like 6th edition, 7th edition. Those, you have like something like the Owls, which have really high leadership. So they would hardly ever run from panic tests or anything like that. But as soon as they get into combat, they always lose combat by loads and then run away and then have to run.
Because that's got modifiers.
But it goes the other way as well. I played a game in Games Workshop Luton. I had a beautiful Orc and Goblin army. It took me 4 years to paint, and it was led by Grom the Paunch of Misty Mountain and his chariot.
Grom the Paunch, that's a great name.
And I played against my friend, Mr. Christopher Woods, and he had a Beastman
name
army
and shame.
With a horrendous Beastman character called Morgul or something. He was a big, sort of sluggy Beastman guy. And before the game starts, he gets to roll on a table to see what his chaotic sort of aura ability does.
Oh gosh, yeah, the old Realms of Chaos stuff.
This is Warhammer 6th edition. He rolled his dice. Grom the Paunch turned into a great big tentacle blob.
Yeah,
the whole of my army turned and ran off the table before turn 1 had even. I did actually put my army down and then just took it back and put it in the case. He won. He won the game.
And one of the things I found is, I was thinking this when you were talking about second and in particular third edition, because third edition I think was around for a long time, wasn't it? That orange hardback. So a lot of people, older and younger people, have played it. Was horrifically bad in terms of balance because it was so open in terms of the magic items you could take and the spells and all of those. You have immensely powerful spells that I remember opening ravines and the units just fall into it.
Vortex, Chaos and Zone of Sanctuary were horrendous.
Yeah,
Frost swords as well. Just one hit down your ice. That's it.
Frost sword, 2 up, or only on the roll of a 1 are you not alive. Yeah. Are you alive? No matter what you are. Like, okay, and that's 50 points. Well, I'm having one of them then. But conversely, of course, everybody's proper heroes had them, so they were all just as bad. But conversely, though, those are also. That's the era of which many people have great stories, and that's interesting because they weren't necessarily great games to live through. When you were on the other end of that, somebody comes and they find, but they're great stories.
They were fun though. It was fun. It was fun to die because you always died in a humorous way. It's like playing a game of Paranoia, the role-playing game when which is not
to everyone's taste. You realise that, Paul?
But I remember playing a game of Warhammer 3rd edition, and I was playing against Wood Elves, and he took the very rarely taken bound creature of a giant frog.
Oh, sweet.
Giant frogs were like 25 points. They were absolutely rubbish. They had a weapon skill of 2, but they had a special tongue attack, right?
Right.
If they hit you, which is unlikely, but if they do hit you and you fail a toughness test, they swallow you in your mouth. They just take you in.
And that's
like
that.
a giant picking you up and putting you in his face.
So a frog just basically licking your orc general to death.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, once you've got 12 of them, you're going to make a hit, aren't you? One of them's going to hit.
Paul was saying about how that game played at Games Workshop Luton. I remember seeing a game there one time when a friend of mine, Swampy, was playing with his undead army. And he was playing against a Tomb King's army. This is one of the things I hated about Warhammer, was the stupid sniping of characters. And he fired his not casket of skulls, the skull chucker. He fired the skull chucker, landed on the vampire's head. He failed his lookout, sir, and killed him instantly. And his army started crumbling before he even had a go. First turn, and he'd lost the game, and he hadn't even had a go yet.
Yeah, happened a lot.
Happened
a lot, but funny. I'm sure Michael Wayne here is saying that he's played Skaven in 3rd and 4th, and they was an army that was brittle on leadership and would run off, they would destroy themselves with their wacky inventions and run away all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if you rolled a 13 now.
Yeah.
We had another. Glendora said you can hear the frog song. Let's go back to that. Does anyone remember the hedgehog song from the Discworld? I do not. Saw British Bulldog back in the day. Gosh. All right.
Wow.
Just trying to catch up. That must be of Gawain and the Green Knight. Yeah, it is Gawain. It's Gawain and the Green Knight is the thing. What's this worst MFA roll call ever? Is that because we keep falling out? Right. Let's look at the rest of Jason's pictures. Let's go back the other way. So I'm going to go back and share the screen. Whoop. Right then, what's this?
This is for a customer that we're doing recently. This is from the Zombicide board game.
Right.
The Supernatural. I don't know if you guys have ever watched the show with Rick Dean and Sam Winchester, the vampire hunters or bad guy hunters. And these are those characters from the show. I quite like these, so I thought I'd stick them in there. Because who doesn't like a bit of monster hunting?
And am I right in thinking with Zombicide, there's quite a bit of shall we say, intellectual property theft? Let's say what it is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. They steal other. They make models from really popular franchises.
I actually wonder. You're right, and especially early days, they used to do it all the time. You know, just like change the letter in the name.
Yeah.
But I actually think they might have the license for these because they actually stayed on the box.
Yeah, it's got Warner Brothers on there, but also they definitely had a Thrud, the Barbarian
From Discworld
expansion pack. No, from the old White Dwarf magazine, Thrud, the Pinhead Barbarian.
I remember that.
Yeah, Carl Critchlow creation.
If I remember,
was he not in Discworld?
No, that was Harun.
Right.
And then there was Conran, the octogenarian barbarian. Discworld.
Right. Your memory is much better than mine, sir. Nice.
Power.
So they're for a customer, and are they character zombies as well?
These are some of the heroes. Obviously, this is Sam and Dean, and then I think I stuck up a picture of some of the villains, which are just some of the sort of bad guys from the show, and there was a couple others I didn't put on there. It was Castiel and the demon, the guy who plays Badger in Firefly. I can't think of his name now, but he was in there as well.
Nice. So that's them up close.
Yep, these are some of the bad guys. So the like sort of generic vampire type dude and a demon, but he just looks human because it saves on the budget. All you have to do is turn the eyes black.
So halflings.
Yeah, this is mine. I've got basically I've been doing a lot of halfling wars on my channel because I've got a shield maiden sort of northern Viking-ish style army, and I've got an undead halfling army. So I thought I wanted a more generic human sort of medieval style army. So I went for a theme of like I call them Order of the Griffin, and this is my sort of mix mash of stuff that I've used to make my army. That's my general in the front there.
I was going to say the Order of the Griffin's got a gold chicken on his head.
Yeah, and his weapon is a fork, a giant fork.
Oh, right, nice. So this is more of them. Nice wizard character.
Yeah, I like the sort of magical bow, sort of fiery green fire bow that he summons.
And are these TT Combat again?
The two characters are from Titan. Well, actually, one's from Titan Forge, which is actually 3D printed. One's from Last Sword, which are 3D printed. The dudes at the back are from Mantic.
Right.
And then there's a whole mixture of other stuff from other places. I got the basic troops from Wargames Atlantic. And then I got some more stuff that I 3D printed from Last Sword. And then there's some Games Workshop. What are those? Griffhounds, those type of things. So I've mixed and matched everything I could find to fit the theme. Because I'm one of those gamers, I don't look at the stats or the rules. I look at what theme works and what models can I make to fit that theme. So and then I go from there.
And you like to use a cockatrice in an army so you can just keep talking about your cock.
Exactly, yeah. And if it's not that, then I'm going to find something else.
Right, cool. This is nice. So whose model is this?
This is from Last Sword.
Oh, go back.
That's a wild griffin that they did. They did a griffin where you could have a griffin rider, and then they did a version which was the griffin looks more like it has the spurs not very, it's very rough and rustic, and it looks like it hasn't been civilized, so to speak. So I liked it, and I like the prowling nature of it coming down the rock like that. So I liked it. So I thought this will be a nice sort of monster for my army. So my halflings are basically kind of working for this big wild griffin. That's why they call the Order of the Griffin.
Nice.
This is my leader model, my general. This is actually the character on top is from Last Sword, but the model is from Mantic Games. But I took the head off because this is technically a dog with wings. I think they call it an arrowlers or something like that.
Right.
So I wanted it to be like a mini griffin. So I took one of the Griffhound heads, put it on the top there, took off the tail and put a different tail on there. So it looks more like a very small demi griffin that my halfling leader can ride.
For a halfling, yeah. But it doesn't look like a baby with a grumpy face like that, does it? It does work quite well.
It looks like a Stormcast. It looks like a Stormcast guy. It really does.
And keep in mind, this is a halfling. It's really small.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Oh, and then you got a whole bunch of them.
Yeah, so these are the my sort of Order of the Griffin Knights. So I took the Griffhounds from Games Workshop, and then I took the Mantic. They did a set where you could buy like armored halflings for their halfling army, and I converted them to fit on these demigriffs at the back. So these will be my knights. These armies, I would say, is about 90% done because I've still got to do a couple more bits to it to finish it off. And then I'll start doing battle reports with them and my other halfling armies. But I thought it would be fun to do something like that. And I've actually got another plan for another halfling army in the future, which will be sort of a Jinn, sort of Arabian-looking halfling army.
Very nice. And these you're going to play Dragon Rampant, presumably. I've seen units of 6.
Basically, I'm the biggest magpie for games. I will play anything, anytime, anywhere. And I will shoehorn my armies into any game.
Nice. So you mentioned Armada.
Yeah.
So is this the Basileans? Is this the basic kind of generic type?
Yeah. So this is for my Armada fleet. I'm doing Basileans and what are the Tomb Kings called? Empire of Dust. I think it's called Empire of Dust in this game. I can't remember.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Tomb King armies. But so I started with Basileans. I'm going to do them. And then I'm going to do a Kings of War and a Vanguard army for the Basileans. And then I've already done a Kings of War army for the Tomb King or Empire of Dust. And then I'm going to do their fleet and I've already done a Vanguard army for them as well. And then I'm going to do like a linked sort of scenarios where one game plays into the next. So, for example, when you play an Armada game, the results of that game will affect the next game, which could be a Vanguard game or a Kings of War game, that sort of thing. I quite like the fact that you can link the games and have a sort of overall story set in all the different things.
Yeah.
I love that sort of thing. I love that sort of thing.
You can link the games, yeah. Why does it keep doing that? It's like it show me so many pictures and then it'll cut off, so keep going back to mine. So, this I'm excited about, obviously, because this you're doing for me.
Yeah, this is your goblins.
These are my goblins. So, when we went to Salute, we had a chat with Ronnie renting at Mantic, and said we were looking. We did a very short interview with him there, which presumably people on the channel have seen. And they've got this new starter set for Kings of War. There's a thing about Kings of War is it is a mass battle game. But they created a new starter set, and I think they're about 25 quid, the boxes. And you get a handful of units and a basic version of the rules in it. It's like I want to give this a go. I quite like it. I've got the best part of a dwarf army already. Never have the painting time. So in that classic Jason way, Jason was very interested in Vikings at the time and said, "You tell me what Vikings you want and paint these for me in exchange." Is that basically?
And I painted them, and the Vikings went in the loft.
But this is showcasing the good thing about not having a figure count, having a base footprint, right? So these extra bits, where have they come? They were not in the box.
No, this is the thing I like about these sort of diorama bases. But there's a thin line between, in my opinion, and people can do whatever the hell they like. But when I'm making things like this, I don't like to make movable fortresses or really ostentatious really massive dioramas. Like basically castle walls or big chariots and things. I don't know. I like to have the theme come through via sort of little mini things. So, for example, in this situation, I was looking at the goblins, and I was thinking, well, how can I make it look like they all link up together when you put the bases next to each other?
Mm-hmm.
What sort of theme are we going for? So I went for a sort of an autumny, lots of oranges, yellows, light brown, those type of things. And then I thought, with goblins, it's kind of very shamanistic sort of thing. So I went for a lot of skeletons, bones. You've got in that little column there, it's got like a lot of sort of totemic, sort of shamanistic
things. It looks
like
Aztec-y, doesn't it? But
yeah,
the colours make it fit.
And then I took some dead trees and I put them on the bigger bases. I was planning to hang some little skulls and things off them. So just to tie in a theme, like they're basically going through some sort of badlands, if you like. Where the terrain is not very lush, that sort of thing, and the way they tribalistic nature, I try to bring that through in the theme.
And for anyone that's ever thinking about using Jason as well as to do their commission work, I said to Jason, just do with it what you think looks good. I gave you no steer on this, did I? I just
no.
You go with it, and I'm sure what you produce will be great. So all these kind of 3D printed bits that you've put on there as all kind of your own creation, I think they look really excited, really good, and I'm excited to get hold of it.
I also think of it in terms of because there used to be a minimal model count, a regiment has 20 dudes, a troop has 10, but it's not. You don't strictly have to stick to that. You can do what you want. But when I always think of it as when I added that mammoth skull or the totem, the shamanistic totem thing, I count those as part of that model count.
Yeah.
If you've got 16 dudes on there and 3 interesting little pieces on there, that's still about 19, 20 models on there.
Yeah, and I think that Mantic have realised that this is a real strength of their system, and they encourage you to do that now and say, look, if the models don't fit, you don't need to rank them up on the bases. Just make them look good. Put them on the bases wherever you want, because it's something you can't do with individually based figures.
And the community is really good. They come up with some great things. I mean, you go on some of the Facebook pages or whatever, or in fact, someone who's in the chat, Lazy Pirate Baiting, he's got a YouTube channel, and I'm pretty sure I saw in one of his videos that he's got one of every single army in the game. So he's got
one base.
No, one full army of every race.
Wow.
Yeah. And I think I asked him one time, like how he comes up. He just collects a load of crap, puts it in a drawer, and then comes up with a theme. And they look great. They definitely come across really interestingly, and you can come up with some really interesting themes and designs. That's a real strength, I think. If you're into the modeling side of things and the hobby and the sort of lore, if you like, I think that's a really cool way of doing it.
Absolutely. And you really just need to make sure that on the base there's sometimes the weapons matter, so as long as they're predominantly one type of weapon, you can see this is a spear unit, for example.
What's interesting as well is obviously that's a regiment, but if you wanted a horde, you could just connect the two trays together, and that forms a horde. But a regiment, I obviously didn't do it with yours, but with my Tomb King ones, I've got a lot of my, say, archer units on troop bases. And if you put 4 troop bases together, they form a horde, or 2 of them forms a regiment, and so on.
Yeah. They tessellate that way, don't they? Because there's bases that are half this depth. Is that right?
Yeah.
Feels similar to Hail C. So I've just done a lot of Hail C's and stuff, and they've got like 40 mil square plastic bases. You put 4 dudes on, and you can sort of link them together and make bigger units and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And these are their engines.
Yeah. So what I said to you about this one is like I've obviously just put the engines on there, and I got the tree and the skulls, but I've actually painted up some extra bits for you on the side here.
Oh, nice.
So you can put these wherever you want them to be. I don't know because they don't. Those machines don't actually come with drivers. You have to make them out of the other figures.
Right.
I didn't know really where you would want to put them, so I painted them up. I kept them separate. When you get them, you can stick them on there wherever you like. You can have them running next to it. You can put them on the back. I painted up one of those funny little dog pig things. You can have running next to it.
Yeah, cool. So that's the Mantic. But all of those things that you saw come in that ambush set. But I think I gave you 2 boxes, so you might not get quite that many.
Well, no, all the figures are just from one box. It's just there wasn't enough bases in one box to make up more figures.
Yeah, cool. On to more halflings.
Oh yeah, this is the core units from my Order of the Griffin. So just the basic men at arms with pikes and some bowmen. This is all from the War Games Atlantic set. The halfling set. You can make about 24 or 30 gold halflings out of that. So I've made a couple of units out of each of those, just to form the core. Like the bullet munchers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
wow,
that's something different.
All right. So these are. I forgot I put these in here. This is from my Estalian army, which I did for no other reason than I wanted to do something different in Warhammer the Old World. But there's no actual army list or army book for this officially. But it's basically
they're a bit Spanish.
Yeah, they're a bit Spanish. My other half, Carla, is Portuguese, so I thought they're the only equivalent that's similar to Portuguese in the Old World is the Estalians. Don't say that out loud to a lot of Spanish and Portuguese people.
Is it not that the Tillians are Portuguese and the Estalians are Spanish?
Well, the Tillians are Italians.
Of course they are. They are. So they're down there as well, aren't they?
Yeah. So I built up a whole Estalian army with pikemen, crossbowmen, and I used a lot of reference from. There was this fella who was doing sort of non-official Games Workshop books called the Warhammer Armies Project. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, Games Workshop have smashed him a bit now, so he can't do it anymore. Or at least he can do it without any pictures or any reference of any kind. So it's just rules now. But one of the units he had in there was called the Black Guard, and he had some reference from their books and stuff, which was a unit that basically were like a town guard that fought in the crypts against the undead and Skaven and those type of things, and that they were a halberdier unit with a lot of armor. And I took that inspiration, and then I went through my STL files, and I found a sort of a heavily armored infantry unit. I went to go find some halberdiers, and then I found this guys from Last Sword that had like these Draconis vampire-style skull helms.
They really make the unit.
Yeah, I printed them all out separately and put it together and painted up, and they were my Black Guard. I was very happy with this unit. They came out really nice. They came out exactly how I pictured it in my head, with the description that I got from the little bit of fluff. And unfortunately, in Warhammer terms, they're going to be rubbish. I mean, heavy armored, toughest 3 humans with a strength 4 attack. They're going to get mowed over like nothing. But at least they look cool.
With a drummer and a flag. Now, also showcasing here, Jason, is the problem with the MDF movement trays. Is all the black rims. So for those people that have this problem, which is nearly everyone, if you buy from Charlie Foxtrot, the holes are cut slightly bigger than 25mm. If you get his movement trays, which means by the time you've painted the rim of your bases and a little bit of grit's got in, you can still usually get them flat. Is something, and I don't know any of the other companies that do that. So his bases are still 25mm though, but he's double cut it, so you've got just that little bit of wiggle room.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
So because you see this on everybody's photo, and it's a real shame, isn't it? Because it damages the effect, and I've done that again. Oh, come on, Michael, stop being a fool. Right, what's this? Oh, that's big.
This is Manuel, my Warhammer giant for my Conquistador army, or my Estalians. He's a giant from Titan Forge Miniatures. He has he's a siege breaker giant. He has a big thing on his back, which I took off. And,
battering ram.
Yeah, and I just like the model. I think it's a great looking model. It's big giant. I mean, you can see the old Warhammer castle in the background there.
Yeah.
So, I know it's the far away, sort of small far away thing, but he's a big meaty model, and I really love this model. And he's one of the centerpieces of my Estalian army. They take him with wherever they go, just to smash down the local tribes, villages, walls, and things like that.
It's nice. And he stood on a tactical rock.
That's right.
Like you need to when you're a giant. There you go.
Love a tactical rock.
I've done it again. I now know what it is that I'm doing wrong, though. Right. Oh, this is nice as well. Is this more Estalians?
Yep, this is my general. He's on a big griffin. As you could tell from earlier when I was talking about what was going to be painting tonight, I'm a massive Greek mythical pantheon fan. I love a bit of Minotaur and Griffins and those type of things. So whenever I get a chance, I add something like that to my army. And I got to have my general on a Griffin, as you saw with my halflings. I got a halfling on a mini Griffin. So this is also from Titan Forge, and I really like this model a lot. I think it's a really
beautiful
nice
model, especially the claws, the animation of the claws. It's really capturing some movement.
And you'll notice we're also on a tactical rock.
Of course.
I know how much John loves a tactical rock.
Yeah. So what about these guys?
So
these is your heavy cavalry.
Yeah, this is actually I got from John. I stuck this in here because John gave me these. He bought that. What was that set from where he bought like townsfolk, loads of townsfolk with town guard and
laser dungeon, laser dungeon. Those people.
Yeah, from those people. Yeah. And this was the cavalry he had inside that set, and he gave them to me to use in my Estalians because at the time I didn't have any cavalry. I've started adding a little bit more things to it now, but this was the first cavalry unit I painted, and I thought they fitted in perfectly. They're sort of like a medium, sort of heavy. They're not quite fantasy heavy, but I quite like them, and I think they'll do the job, for running into stuff.
Absolutely. Oh, that's him again. Now these are interesting.
Yeah, no, so I call these my matadors. So these are my, if you think of I don't know how much you know of Warhammer Fantasy, but the Empire have a demigriff cavalry unit, which is a big, heavy, monstrous cavalry unit. I wanted something similar, but obviously I didn't want to go down the Griffin route because the Empire already have that. And the Spanish sort of mythos is like, everything's got the bull on it, that sort of thing. So I found the guy on the right. That's the actual model that this set this model is from, the guy on the right. So it's a character on a big bull. I then printed out the bull a couple more times, broke off a couple of horns and stuff like that just to make it different. And then I found some knights and I printed out some different Spanish hats, things like that, and just variants of cavalry. I tell you, I did make a mistake on this when I printed them out. I printed out the wrong arms. So they had shields in their left hand and lances for the left hand as well.
Oh, no.
So I was like, for Christ's sake. So I had to go and print out right shield. But yeah, I was really happy with this. I've actually added a fourth one to this now. So because I thought 3 was a bit, I don't know. I just wanted a bigger, more intimidating looking unit. So I've got a 4th one now.
Yeah. I mean, they are magnificent, those hats. They really are. And this is more of your sort of militia infantry.
This is again some of the models that John gave me. To prove to him that I did actually paint them.
Same.
This is again with the Wargames Atlantic Conquistador stuff. If you're looking to do Estalians, that box set is brilliant. Probably one of the best plastic box sets I've come across from Wargames Atlantic or in anyone in terms of for nice variety. It reminds me a lot of the old Warhammer 6th edition fantasy plastic box sets like the Empire used to do. Because this box set can make pikemen, swordsmen, great swords. It can make handgunners, crossbowmen. It comes with command groups. It is so versatile and really, really useful. The models are nice and crisp and fun to paint, not overly detailed, and you can add more embellishments to it, like little half swords and things like that, bucklers, things like that. Great set. Really, really like it a lot.
Now, you did say Wargames Atlantic, so I'm wondering, is it 2 separate arms and then slot the weapon in, or is one of the arms holding a weapon? Because I really don't like 3-part rifles.
No. The arms come attached to whatever weapon. So if you want to have them handgunners, you use the handgunner arms. If you want to do if you wanted to have crossbows, you have to use the crossbow arms. And of course, they're not infinite amounts, so you can only make up a certain amount out of the box. I can't remember off the top of my head because I bought about 6 boxes. So I don't know how many there are, but you can make, like, say, for example, there's 24 models in a box. You can make, say, 6 handgunners and 6 crossbows and 6 great swords and stuff like that, or you can make 24 pike or whatever, something like to that effect.
Right, yeah. Okay. And then some characters.
Yeah. These again, I got them from Ian Lovecraft, which is another 3. I've 3D printed them. I got a whole host of these. These are just 3 random ones I picked out. I kind of like having NPCs and various characters and stuff. So I imagine then the guy on the right and the girl on the left is the governor and his wife. And when you go to a new world and you've got to set up a new encampment, whatever, you need someone to run the place. And this will be this fella. I actually really like that model a lot. On the back, which I didn't show a picture of, he's got a really embellished cloak with a lot of gold plating and stuff like that. Really, really nice. And the guy in the middle, I use him as a duelist. So he's a sort of a dapper fencing fella who challenges everywhere, walks around challenging people all the time. So he's just a cool model.
Tells people, you killed my father, prepare to die, that sort of thing.
Yeah, something like that.
And that's these guys that we've seen before.
Yeah, it's
just from a different angle. I think that is all of it. Let's stop sharing the screen. Thank you for sharing that. Sorry about the sharing thing, guys. I couldn't keep up with the chat at the same time. How far did people get on with their hobbying? I got far enough to cut out the rifle and the arms and then lost the rifle. If you saw me looking around, I lost the rifle for this guy. I'm going to have to find him. So I built half a model. Paul, did you get much hobbying done?
Yeah, I did. I'll show you up close. So I've painted
the snail. Put it big.
I painted the snail shell on this guy. Trying to get some mottled snail shell. I've done some of the strapping on the thing, and I worked a little bit more on some of the skin on his leg. Just super
really
texturing and layering and stuff.
I
That's
love
it,
the
really.
shading. I love the shading on the boils there, Paul.
Cheers, pal.
It's really nice. Really nice. And what about you, Jason? Do you get any hobbying done? I mean, you're mostly talking, right?
I did shit all. I just twirled this model round and round in my hands while fidgeting.
But you're pretty much non-stop talking for 3/4 of an hour there. It's nice to get you on because you do so much. And get you on a couple of times, and there's just so many things to see, and from companies that a lot of us are not exposed to. I mean, a lot of the guys on the channel do historical stuff, but most of us began our journeys with fantasy, and it's just nice to see it all again. And I'm going to try and behave myself and not go mad when Warhammer Fantasy comes back. But
Oh man, I'm gonna go mad. I know. I'm gonna say. I could sit here and say I won't, but I'm gonna go nuts as usual.
Can I offer some mental health advice about Warhammer? Man, just take yourself back to the late 90s and the Still Mania articles. You pick one army, write a list, buy it and build it, and never ever change it. Just play with one army. Just do yourself a favour.
I do one army a week.
One army a week, wow! But how much of that is your own stuff? That I mean, it was nice. A lot of that was your own stuff, wasn't it? But a lot of what you do is.
I thought I'd show some of the stuff I did. A lot of the times, I'm not really allowed to show a lot of the things I paint by other people. I mean, I painted some stuff for, like, say, Great Escape Games and those type of companies, and like War Games Atlantic. I've done a lot of stuff for them. Some of the stuff I did about 2 years ago. They've not even come out yet.
Right. Great Escape. Sorry, you just mentioned Great Escape Games. Did you have anything to do with their about to be released Kickstarter?
I might have, yeah.
Yeah.
I've got some of the houses here next to me.
Yeah. There's big news coming in that respect. I'm hoping to get Stuart on to talk about it. They've got a Kickstarter coming out soon. Right, in a couple of weeks' time.
Sorry, Stuart used to be my Games Workshop rep when I had my shop.
Stuart McCorkadale.
Yeah, he was when he worked for Games Workshop. He used to be my liaison with Games Workshop.
They all seem to have worked at Games Workshop. Everyone you meet in this industry worked at Games Workshop. So on the 17th, we've got the guy who wrote this. So this is the newest Osprey Blue book. It's American Civil War with Hot Lead and Cold Steel by Arthur van der Ster. He got in touch with us. I don't know whether he watches the channel very often, but he obviously knew who we were. And we have provisionally booked then because it should be out. It looks like it's a mass combat game.
I think it looks good. I saw a page turnover the other day from another channel, and it looked really interesting. I'm actually quite interested in that.
Yeah. Well, you can have a look at it if you want, Jason. Next time I catch up with you. That's that, and in 2 weeks' time, we probably going to have a Bolt Action Battle Report come out on Friday. Not quite sure yet. I'm hoping John is okay. John confirmed it was Dungeons and Lasers where those figures came from. So, show-wise, I'm hoping to get down to Selwig, but I'm not definite. Are you going, Paul? Jason? Selwig?
No.
No.
Maybe, I don't know. If I can get away from my painting table.
You can get away from your painting table. All right, I guess that's about it from now. Jason, remind the young people at home where they can find you.
YouTube, Gaming Nights, Battle Nights. Battle Nights, that's the one. Battle Nights. That's my YouTube channel. I should have something up on this week. I'm going to do a little bit of a roundup of some of the stuff, so maybe you'll see most of what I've just talked about on there coming up. And then on Facebook, I've got a Facebook page called Painting Nights, where we put up all our commission pages stuff, same as on Instagram, Painting Nights as well. And and Jason Froud on Facebook.
All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed the showcase. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys. See you guys there.